You're listening to Music Tectonics.
Welcome back to Music Tectonics, where we go beneath the surface of music and tech. I'm Eleanor Rust, Marketing Director at Rock Paper Scissors, the PR firm that specializes in music innovation and music technology. Today, you'll get a taste of what it's like to be at NAMM, the annual trade show for musical instruments, gear, software, pro audio, and event tech. I went with Shayli Ankenbruck, Music Tectonics conference planner, to find new musical inventions, get an industry pulse check, and reconnect with friends of Music Tectonics face-to-face. On this episode, here are interviews with Athan Billias of the MIDI Association and friends of the show James Hill and Felisha Booker. In between, we captured out-of-this-world demos of new musical tools and toys from Playtronica, Blip Blox, and Instruments of Things. Let's dive in. I'm Eleanor. I'm back on the show floor at NAMM, and I'm getting a pulse check from Athan Billias. Now, listeners to the podcast will know who Athan is, but for those who don't, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Athan Billias. I've had a long career in the music industry. I was the product planning manager for Korg, and then I went to work for Yamaha for 22 years, and I retired in November of 2020, and now I'm the president of the MIDI Association.
You are very busy for a retired person.
Yeah, you know, it's been great. One of the things that happened is when I retired, I got busier, but I got busier doing stuff that I love, which is coming to NAMM shows. I love coming to a NAMM show more than anything else. Somebody asked me the other day, what was your first NAMM show? And my first NAMM show was famously called The Wake at the Lake in 1981 in Chicago. It was an amazing NAMM show. It was my very first one. I was working at E. Wurlitzer's in Boston. We were the big pro audio shop. And 7 of us got in a van, including Gene Jolly, who went on to be the president of Tascam, a VP at a QSC. So a very high-powered exec. But back in the day, we all piled into a van and we drove out to Chicago together to go to the NAMM show. And yeah, it was an amazing experience. And since that time, I have not missed a NAMM show. The only NAMM show I didn't go to in person was the 2021 NAMM show.
When nobody was in person.
So, yeah.
Well, then let's talk a little bit about what you've seen evolve at NAMM. How does this, first return to in-person compare to past years?
You know, everyone was a little... was wondering, to be honest. You know, we were wondering, what's it going to be like? What's the show going to be like? And on Friday morning, it was pretty quiet at the MIDI Association booth, and I was a little bit worried. And then at 11 o'clock, it got busy, and it stayed busy through the entire show. And then I realized what had happened. Yeah. I used to work for Yamaha, and a lot of people, they would go to the Yamaha booth first, and then they would go other places. And I think a lot of people went to see Yamaha first, and then they came down here.
That makes sense.
We've been very, very happy. I think that NAMM is continuing to evolve and needs to continue to evolve. But I can tell you that we are already making plans for April 2023.
Fantastic.
Which, by the way, will be the 40th anniversary of MIDI.
Oh, that's going to be a very big deal, I hope.
It's going to be a big deal, but it's also going to be a little bit sad. I know we were talking about it. One of the things that kind of shaped this show was on Tuesday, so just before the NAMM show, Dave Smith passed away very unexpectedly.
And Dave Smith is often called the father of MIDI, one of the first developers.
He was one of the first developers, and I knew Dave very well. We worked together at Korg when Dave has a long history. So Dave had his company Sequential Circuits, and Sequential Circuits actually went out of business. And so Yamaha acquired Sequential Circuits and started the Dave Smith division. And the Dave Smith division was working on a number of products for a very long time. And this is a little bit of a long story, but it's a good one.
Tell it. I want to hear it.
Okay. So when I was the product planning manager for Korg Inc. in Japan, so I worked very closely with Chairman Kato, who is the founder of Korg. And just before the M1 came out, I wanted to make a bet with Chairman Kato about the M1. So the product planning number for the M1 was 40,000 units lifetime, which is typically 3 years for a synthesizer. And I said to Kato, well, I think we're going to have a great success with the M1. It went on to be the largest selling synthesizer of all time. It sold 376,000 units, so it was insanely successful. So I said, just give me $1. Just give me $1 for every one over $40,000 that we sell in the first year. And Kato, actually, he was an amazing guy. Not your typical Japanese person. He had run a nightclub in Shinjuku, and he was a character. And he thought about it for a second. He said, no, I can't do that. That's not a good precedent to set. But if we sell more than 40,000 in the first year, we can have a product planning meeting in Hawaii.
That sounds like a good incentive.
So that was a good incentive for all of the staff and the group of foreign sound developers that we worked with. We called the MIDI Patch Boys, by the way, and so we sold more than 40,000 the first year. And true to his word, Kato arranged to have a meeting in Hawaii. And at that meeting in Hawaii, he came and he said, went down to Hamamatsu, and I heard some news, and I heard that Dave Smith division was going to be shut down by Yamaha. And I only asked the chairman of Yamaha one question: can you please tell me the date when they will give notice to all the employees of Dave Smith division? And he got that information, and then he worked behind the scenes, and I'm not sure if it was literally true, but it was kind of like the people at Dave Smith division, which was Dave Smith, Alex Lambiris, who had worked at Ensoniq, John Bowen, who was the sound designer for Sequential. They were kind of like packing up their boxes, and Seiki Kato and Joe Castronova, who's now the president of Korg, showed up, and they said, well, do you want to unpack your boxes and work for Korg? And that's how Korg R&D was born. So we worked together on the Wave Station. So I have so many great memories of working with Dave, and he was such an inspirational figure. He changed the face of music in two ways. One was he really helped to make synthesizers popular. I mean, Bob Moog had the Mini Moog, but Dave was the first guy who did a programmable multi-timbral synth, which was like a big deal back in the day. And of course, the other thing is he was very instrumental in the development of MIDI with Kakahachi-san from Roland and Dave, who are always credited with being the fathers of MIDI. Dave actually didn't like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he knew that it was a team effort. That's one thing, and the second thing was Dave did not like committees and organizations, and as soon as MIDI started to be like an association and have meetings and structure, Dave was like, yeah, let me just build my next synth. I mean, that was what Dave was always on to the next thing.
Okay.
And but everybody in this industry owes a debt, and I've come up with a catchphrase.
Yeah.
And my catchphrase is that Bob and Dave did as much for this industry as Leo and Les. So Leo Fender, Les Paul, two giants who really changed the industry. But Bob Moog and Dave Smith, equally as important in shaping our industry as we know it. So.
And was Dave a big presence at NAMM over the years, or was he both back in the lab?
No. Dave was always here, and he was always gracious. And the other thing that makes it doubly sad is Dave Smith had worked with Marcus Ryle, the founder of Line 6, to bring back Oberheim. And my favorite picture of all time, and you go to the Moog Foundation, they have this wonderful picture, and it is Kakahashi-san, it's Tom Oberheim, it's Dave Smith, and I think Roger Lynn is in that picture, and it's just all of the people, and they were competitors, but they were friends.
That's great.
And that only happens in the music industry. Yeah. It really, it's the one place which is very special. You know, we have the MIDI Association booth here, and we have all of our MIDI Association members right out in front of us.
It's a really concentrated area of innovation and creativity. It's very inspiring. Every product is so different, and yet all are using MIDI to do something super creative.
No, and you mentioned innovation, and you know that's what Bob Moog was all about. That's what Dave was all about. We just ran the MIDI Innovation Awards. We had 109 entrants in 5 different categories. We had over 6,000 people voted, and they placed over 15,000 votes because you had to vote in a number of different categories. And it was just amazingly creative stuff.
And just your 109 applications, amazing. Even among the winners, there's people from all over the world.
Diversity, yeah. In fact, the winner last year of the MIDI Innovation Award is Krishna Chetan, who is from India, which is great. He worked with the person who produced the music for Slumdog Millionaire. He worked in the studio and then kind of spun out. And he was again the winner this year.
I was so glad to see that.
Yeah, and it's just great. So we want to, the MIDI Association is a trade association. We have as our members Google, Microsoft, and Apple, so we have very large members. But we have, most of our members are small members who pay $600. The big members pay $20,000. We're a trade association, nonprofit, so all of our financials are completely transparent and have to be and should. It's those smaller companies that actually push the larger companies, and that's what creates that bubbling mess of creativity and innovation, which is what the NAMM show is all about.
Oh, we love to see it. So you were talking about the NAMM show evolving. Do you have any hopes and dreams for how you want to see it evolve in the future? You've invested so much of your energy in it in the past. What do you want to see in the future?
Well, first I want to see April 2023.
That's a great goal.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to take it one step at a time. I think we're still working on how the relationship between online and in person. And we had an interesting thing, which I think is actually a pretty cool idea. We had a company, we did a press release before NAMM. There's a company called PTZ Optics, and they have a pan-tilt zoom camera. Okay, so it's a camera that has a motor in it, and it can be moved, and you can control it. And usually it's done with a preset. They added the ability to control it via MIDI, so you can take a regular MIDI controller and control it. But on top of that, it can be controlled via web MIDI. So I am able to take a set of PTZ Optics cameras and control them remotely from a remote location. So I was controlling their cameras from my house in Aliso Viejo. They were in Pennsylvania. Now imagine this. Imagine that maybe you couldn't go to a trade show, but you could virtually go to the trade show, but you could engage with the trade show by
looking around,
and you decide what you want to look at.
That's great,
right?
Because that's really what's missing in remote experiences. You really feel locked into one view.
Yes,
it's usually not a great view.
Yes, and it's like, if somebody could just move the camera, because the thing just to the left is the thing I'm really interested in. If I can only zoom in on that, well. Now we have made that possible
through MIDI.
Through MIDI, yes.
Amazing. All right, one last question. What's the best experience you've had at the show so far this year?
Well, there's two, and it doesn't take very long to explain them. So we worked with NAMM, and we now have a named MIDI fund. Under the NAMM Foundation, so tax-deductible donations and all of that stuff. And so we have been fundraising. The MIDI Association committed. The executive board committed to giving $25,000 to initially fund it, and then we said we would match any donations up until June 15th, and with the donations that we've got and that we're matching, we had an event last night. It was a reception. People could come. Paul Sitar from A3E hosted it along with NAMM, and we had a great group of people. And so the first thing that happened is we had Jordan Rudis, the keyboard player from Dream Theater, who I worked with at Korg, and Lee Whitmore, who is the chair of the MIDI in Music Education Special Interest Group. And Jordan performed.
Oh, fantastic.
And it was just an amazing performance. I mean, Jordan is amazing. So watching that, and then I introduced Jordan, then I introduced Lee, and he came up and talked about our MIDI and Music Education Initiative, which is being funded by the MIDI Fund. So it was like Old Home Week, which is NAMM is always like that. And we were able at the end to announce the figure, and this is kind of the like, wow, this is pretty cool. We were able to announce that we're putting $47,000 into the MIDI fund to fund MIDI and music education, and we have a wonderful group of educators who are focused on building out a curriculum, building the curriculum, giving all of the assets to teachers so that it'll be done under Creative Commons, so they can take it and do
totally open source
and do whatever they want with them. And then all we will do is we will do certification. So we'll just give you a nice little sticker that says
MIDI approved.
MIDI approved. Yeah. So that was pretty exciting because it was an awful lot of work by both NAMM, Mary Lurson from the NAMM Foundation, which was great, Joe Lamont.
It must be very validating to see that effort come to such great fruition, and it sounds like a pretty short time, really, all things considered.
In a very short time. We really started it in I think it was in February, and I mean that's an amazingly short time. It does show that NAMM can be agile, and we're so aligned with NAMM. That's why we love coming to the NAMM show, because what we're all about is we're about empowering people to experience the joy of making music, and we're about creating new music makers for the future, and the future is kids, and kids need education. So if we want a good future, we need to educate our kids how to make music.
Beautiful. I can't think of a better way to end. Thank you so much for being on the Music Tectonics podcast again and giving us your long view of the NAMM show and what's coming next.
Oh, it was great to be here. Thanks for coming.
Hey, this is Shayli here on the NAMM floor. I'm with Sasha, who is with Playtronica. Could you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you got going on here?
Hey, hello. I'm Sasha from Playtronica. We do these magical MIDI devices which can transform touch and color into sounds. And so today we're presenting the Orbiter, which is a color sequencer that works with different colors, and each color would represent a note. You don't see it, but each color is a small magnet which you put on a small turntable. Well, it's not really small, but kind of a 7-inch turntable. So when I start to play, you will hear the music that's going from the Deckard Stream synth, because it's a MIDI control. It doesn't have any sound generator. And what I can do is just put some more magnets on it, and I will add notes. And now I can unmute and mute the second track and only play with the first track.
Very cool. So is there any way you can plug this into a computer and record some of your tracks on it?
So basically it's created to overcome the creative block when you're sitting at studio and you don't know how to go on with the melody or with the rhythm. You can put this on, you can stop listening to the music, you can start seeing the music and seeing the colors. We also have here special sleepmates that you can put here, and you would work in different graphical worlds, I would say. So here I have like a square, and inside there's a triangle, and outside there is a pentagon and other figures, which are basically the concept of polyrhythms, combining several rhythmical patterns in one time frame.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Thanks for giving us this little demo here. And look out for us to publish this on the podcast.
The Orbiter is the Kickstarter project, so everyone can go now to the orbiter.playtronica.com and subscribe for the newsletter, and we'll release the device in 1 month.
Very good. Everyone go subscribe.
Go,
Thank
go,
you,
go,
Sasha.
go, go.
All right, this is Eleanor. I'm on the floor at the NAMM show in Anaheim, and I have to say some candy-like buttons drew me in to the Blip Blox booth, and I'm here with Troy.
Hi.
Yeah, tell us a little about yourself and about Blip Blox.
Yeah, so I'm Troy. I'm the founder of Playtime Engineering, and today at NAMM we are introducing both our MyTracks Groov Box station and our new Blip Blox SK2. So we have our existing line of synthesizers, but we're adding to that today a new Groov Box. And this is sort of a drum machine sampler-inspired device that we have simplified so really anyone can make music, even kids as young as 3 years old.
Oh, awesome. So what I'm seeing is kind of a progression. I see synths for like the youngest kids, and then it seems like you can just move through all the way up to your new products and really like learn as you go.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, we're plugged in right now. What you're hearing in the background are some sounds from the MyTracks and Blip Blox. So go ahead and make some sounds.
Yeah,
Tell us what you're doing.
Here we have the. We're going to go into a different mode here. So you can either play individual sounds on the keypad here. We have a 5x5 grid of sounds and 5 tracks basically. So with the 5 tracks, we can play different sounds. We can select different sounds. There's 48 sounds built in. And we can apply different sounds to different effects to each sound. So here we have. So there we have is a filter. We can apply like a delay.
So in addition to the really touchable keypad, you've got some shifters, the purple shifters that, I mean, what it's reminding me of is some of like a Fisher-Price driving toy or something. It's like you want to touch it, and yet what you're really doing is creating something new with it, which seems amazing. Do you want to start building some sounds?
Yeah, so here we have the MyTrack connected to the to our existing After Dark synthesizer. So let's see if we can hear just some. So that's our synthesizer. We can get some different sounds with that. So we're playing our synthesizer now. We can launch a sequence with that. So we'll do a little sequence here. Hit play. We can turn up the tempo a little bit. We can add drum beat. And we can add different sounds from the MyTracks. So there's really a lot of fun stuff you can do there.
Yeah, it's super playful. And podcast listeners can't see how fun this is, the bright lights and just really touchable interfaces.
Yep.
It feels like it really bridges toy with tool.
That's what we're really trying to do. We're trying to make taking sort of complex music devices and make them more accessible, not only for kids, but we think a lot of adults would enjoy this too. We see these maybe sitting on coffee tables, and you're having like a cocktail party or something. Just pull one of these out, start having fun, start jamming, and just making some music just really easily with no complexity.
That sounds like a great party.
Yeah,
I want to go. All right, so where can listeners find out more about Blip Blox and MyTracks?
Yeah, so we're at blipblox.com, and
that's BLIPBLOX.
Yep. And
it's even fun to say.
Yeah. So we have our existing Blip Blox synth for kids, and the After Dark's available now. The new Blip Blox SK2 is available in November, and the MyTracks will be available in early 2023.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to that. Thanks so much for your time,
thanks
Troy.
so much.
I hope you have a great show.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hey, and welcome back to Music Tectonics. This is Shayli here on the floor of NAMM. I'm with Henrik from Instruments of Things. Henrik, how are you doing today?
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing super great. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to hear about what you have going on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. So we have a background in modular synthesizers in general, but we just released a new product which was awarded by the MIDI Innovation Awards called SOMI 1.
Very cool.
And SOMI 1 basically consists of several motion sensors and receiver hardware. It's basically a MIDI controller, but it uses movement data, so you can attach all the sensors on your body, so your full body becomes a controller basically.
Wow. Why don't you play a little bit for us? Show us
Sure,
how it goes.
sure. So we have prepared a small Ableton project. Today it's a little bit more Berlin techno style representing, I would say. So I having a sensor in my left hand now, which is triggering a kick sound. And the cool thing is that there are several parameters involved. So one parameter is basically using just the acceleration of me, but I can change. You maybe hear the vocals in the background. I change the pitch of the vocals based on my direction. So it's like a three-dimensional controller with a single motion sensor.
So this little controller, can you hook it to your belt? Or,
Yes.
you can hook it to your shirt?
Exactly.
Very, very cool.
So we have wristbands and feet bands, so we can attach it to your feet and wrists, and we also have clothing clips to put it on shoes or on any clothes. So it's really easy to use and very accessible for everyone.
What about headbands? You got headbands yet?
Headbands not yet, but
not yet.
I mean, it's not so hard if you want to do that on your own, because you can use the closing clip and just a rubber band, and that's fine. Yeah.
Cool. So what's next for Instrument of Things?
Yeah, so of course this is a MIDI controller, so it's more targeting at musicians who are already into music production, especially electronic music or electronic music tools. And our next step is a small mobile app, which is for people who don't have any technical pre-knowledge. So it's clearly focusing on consumers. And the app basically uses the same motion sensor technology, but has ready-to-use soundscapes. So it's just plug and play. You can instantly start with that. And the cool thing is that the app we will offer in marketplace, a virtual marketplace in the app, because we want to connect the sound designers and the consumers, especially dancers who are obviously very interested in movement. So the idea is, let's say you as a sound designer, you want to create a soundscape, for example, yoga or meditation or skating, whatever you come up with. Then you can place your soundscape in our app and offer it to the consumers, so they can buy it for your desired amount, and you get the money for it, and we make a small cut, like Bandcamp, 10%. And that's how we want to create a real ecosystem based on the motion sensor technology.
Cool. Well, thanks for letting me know about all you have going on. Where can people find you?
So we are based in Berlin.
Okay.
So in the NAMM, if you're at the NAMM, you can find us in the German pavilion. But yeah, we are...
Website, socials.
Exactly. You
Okay.
find us on Instagram. There's a lot of media, a lot of demos with dancers from different genres, from hip-hoppers. We have some German government operas, dancers who's using our technology. Yeah, you find a lot of demos there. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Henrik. Have a
Thanks.
great rest of your NAMM.
Thanks.
Hello, Music Tectonics listeners. This is Shayli, the Music Tectonics conference planner. I'm back here at NAMM. I'm not on the floor this time, though. I am in a coffee shop, joined with Eleanor Rust, our marketing director, and James Hill. James, how are you doing?
Hi, guys. I'm great. Yeah.
So James is a NAMM veteran, he was just telling us, and I am really interested to get his perspective on this year's NAMM, because you're both an artist and a tech founder.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like in this perfect sweet spot for Music Tectonics, but also to give us a view of NAMM. What are you thinking about this year? What's happening this year?
Well, I came to NAMM a number of times in the old days, and then I swore off it for years.
Really? Why was that?
Because it's a zoo. That's why.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do, and I didn't feel like if I couldn't do it all, I didn't want to do any of it. and now I've come back with a different attitude, which is if I have fun, I'm good. If you're not having fun at NAMM, you're doing something wrong, because you can't count on anything else. You don't come for all the right reasons. Just come for fun, and come for the people. Come to talk to your friends. Come to make new relationships, and if that's what you get, then you're doing it right.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's been great. We have definitely made some new friends, and also just ran into some super cool and amazing new innovative instruments. I'm like, even instruments are a whole new thing now. It's like, I grew up with instruments being like a flute or a clarinet, and now we're looking at instruments that are like tiny grapefruit looking things with buttons or, you know, things like that. And that's just really cool and exciting. And I feel like we're seeing so much of that here at NAMM. And this is also my first NAMM, so.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, of course, I come from the ukulele world. That's my instrument. And I've devoted my life to the ukulele. You know, this little tiny 4-stringed bringer of much joy and community. And in some ways, it's sort of like the most old-fashioned instrument. There's a real strong ukulele presence at NAMM,
yeah,
right?
I saw.
Yeah.
I wandered that way, away from the synths to the to the strings.
Right. And what I love about it is that on one hand, it's so old-fashioned. And on the other hand, it is so still relevant. You know, the ukulele really came into its own in sort of recent memory with the rise of the internet. It was one of those things that people found each other, found the little niches of people who were really in love with this instrument, and they were brought together by the internet. You know, so it is in some ways it had a rebirth with the internet. And if you look at ukulele history, the reason it spread around the world from Portugal, where it started, is that it was like the original iPod for music. Like if you're going on a long boat ride and you want to bring all your music with you, you want to bring that one little thing that has all your songs in it. You know, there's no hard drive, there's no iPod,
batteries,
right?
no
You're gonna
plug-in.
bring your tiny little guitar thing that you can strum all your songs on.
And it's perfect to sing along to.
That's right, and it fits in your luggage, you know, and it made its way around the world for that reason. It is kind of tech of its time.
Yeah, and then like teens, 20s, 30s, it became like this youth sensation.
Oh, absolutely.
Where every party needs to have somebody playing the uke.
That's right.
Playing show tunes, playing Hawaiian music. I mean, kind of anything could have a uke tab.
That's right, and you can take it anywhere. Piano's great, but you know, try taking it to the beach. Doesn't work.
Yeah. Now, you were just telling us about a project where you're taking ukes to Web3.
That's true.
Can you tell us a little about that?
I'd love to. Yeah, the project is called Uke-Heads, and it is my new album essentially. And it's an album with a twist in the sense that it's a collaborative album. It's a fan collab album. So I've created a whole series of portraits of the ukulele, and when a fan collects one of those portraits, it is essentially a ticket that allows them to play on the album. So it's, and of course, you know the punchline, it's that each one of those portraits is an NFT, right? And I don't dwell on that point with the general public. I just call them portraits, so I call them tickets, and they buy them, and they become part of the community that grows around the artwork. So I really like this idea. You put the art at the center, and then you facilitate a community sort of growing around it. And
the
they become
NFT
part
is
of that.
just the tech that drives that, but what we're really going for is that community and collaboration.
And I think the sooner we can stop talking about the tech, the better.
Yeah.
That's very interesting because I think the tech is a really important part of it, kind of. Everyone just wants to talk about the fun and exciting and pretty parts of NFTs, but there's so much tech and like not fun or pretty stuff under it that is going to make these things really sustainable, So
I totally agree, but not in mixed company, like when you're just talking about to the general fan on the street, I just don't think geeking out over the inner workings of NFTs or blockchain is the way into their hearts.
Yeah. That is a very good point. That the goal is not to convert everybody into crypto bros. The goal is to scale it so that and communicate about it in a way that everybody is interested in participating because of what's important to them.
That's right.
Not to change their priorities, but to make sure you're meeting them
and
where
I think
they are.
that meeting them where they are is exactly the way to put it. I mean, when I'm trying to talk to them about blockchain, I'm approaching them for my own reasons. I want to talk about blockchain. I want to talk about my album. I want to talk about me. But what's in it for them, really? Like, what am I really offering them?
Yeah.
I need to think, what value am I creating? And that's where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the biggest things with NFTs is like what actual value is this, providing for people. So it's just really, it's a really exciting space, I feel, to be in right now. And I think truly the possibilities are endless.
I agree.
We caught a panel yesterday that just talked about like all the opportunities NFTs are going to provide for artists and like giving that exclusive access to your fans through an NFT and things like that, which are just, really cool and awesome. And just like that one step further to like direct artists to fan engagement.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I do have one thing to say about that, and that is I'm starting to see that this NFT communities might be going the way of the Web3 version of Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a real cautionary tale with Kickstarter, and that is the narrative we all know. It goes something like this. There's a Kickstarter thing, some artists get in, they make some money. Other artists look at it and go, whoa, let's do that too. They jump in, and then the artists have to outcompete each other with the promises. And eventually, these promises start getting broken, and the trust dissolves, and the whole platform kind of caves in. And
it
I don't want to get into
much
that.
like a pyramid scheme and not enough like a real collaboration.
Right.
Yeah.
And in my own humble opinion, I think if we continue to put the music and the art at the center, we might be able to navigate it. If I start putting all these funky perks in the center and saying, I'm going to knit you a sweater from my own hair, and I'm gonna send you, an egg from my chickens in the mail. It's like, what does that have to do with anything? If we can, and what I'm trying to do with uke-heads is say, look, the music is the prize. It's not a tangible thing I'm going to send you in the mail. You're going to tell your grandkids that you were on the album. Your name is in the credits. The music is the perk. I feel pretty strongly about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anything you've experienced at NAMM that you want to share this year? What's the most exciting thing that you've been a part of so far?
Well, I've only been here for 24 hours, and already I have too many things too many things to count, that I'd want to put into that category. I really enjoyed meeting Yotam at one of the panels the other day.
Right, at Never Before Heard Sounds.
Never Before Heard Sounds. I think he's a real rock star in the music tech space. He is creating tech that my team and I are using on a different project. And so to meet him and to have a selfie with him, that was my little fanboy moment. I really enjoyed that. So, yeah.
Awesome.
And of course, I also had my ukulele sessions that I gave with my former teacher, Peter Luongo. So it was a really sort of like a full circle for me to come back and teach sessions with him, sort of co-teaching with my former teacher.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, James, this has been a real pleasure. It's so nice to bring a Music Tectonics listener onto the podcast. So we can hear your voice.
Yeah.
And so glad we could connect here at NAMM.
Thanks, you guys. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. Welcome back to Music Tectonics. This is Shayli, Music Tectonics Conference Planner. I'm here at NAMM in the Hilton Hotel with Felisha Booker. Felisha, how are you this morning?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Felisha walked up with her music blaring. She was dancing. She really set the vibes for today. How's your NAMM been? What have you been up to here?
Man, it's been an amazing experience. I got in Friday, went to some sessions, hit the trade show floor, tons of new products, new software, just a lot of people. And it's kind of overwhelming, though, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. Have you seen any really new, cool, innovative instruments? What's your favorite thing you've seen here thus far?
I don't know the technical terms, but there were definitely a lot of pieces of gear where you just kind of smooth your hand over surfaces, and then it triggers sounds. And so I thought those were interesting. I saw some guitars that had all these cutouts and really cool art. So it's just been a lot of interesting things out here.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen so many instruments that I never would have thought of as instruments,
Correct.
I did an interview with this company called Instruments of Things, and they just have little pads you can connect to your body or your belt loop or your shirt, and it makes music with the movements on your bodies, and things like that are just so cool. I've really enjoyed getting to see all the new and cool hardware here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what your company's been up to, Breaker Nation?
Yep. So Man, a lot. We just had commencement week for our interns. And for those who don't know, Breaker Nation is a platform where we help musicians build a marketing and street team to help promote their music. And to do that, we connect them with aspiring professionals who want to work in the business but don't have experience. So they come into Breaker Nation and get their first internship by supporting the artists. And so we brought in a class in late February, and we just had commencement week and graduated them. And so now we're getting ready to basically open up the floodgates and let even more interns in on a rolling basis in July. So I'm really excited about that. We're getting with artists, and so interns will be able to join an artist cohort and really support them and just, make a culture out of making it in music.
Yeah,
that's one of our goals.
Definitely. The barrier to entry in music has always seemed so high, so that's just really awesome that you're providing this space for people to get that experience that sometimes seems so hard to get, that first foot in the door.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Yesterday, I participated in a session called Network with the Pros, and I spoke to so many young people who wanted to get in the music industry and just trying to figure out, how do I get in? What do I need to say? Who do I need to talk to? Where do I need to go? And so I was able to give them some tips, but then also tell them, hey, this is why we're building Breaker Nation. Ultimately, we want to transform the way everyone launches their career in music. So
yeah, well, that's really awesome. Where can people find you on socials, website? Plug yourself.
Yep. So you can go to breakernation.com for information on our company. Our apps are available in the App Store, Google Play. On social media, we are the #1 Breaker Nation, and I am Go Felisha Go on social media.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me this morning, Felisha.
You got it.
All right, safe travels back.
Thanks for listening to this special episode of Music Tectonics recorded at the 2022 NAMM show. Catch up on all our NAMM episodes on your favorite podcast app. If you like what you hear, hit subscribe. We have new episodes every week. Did you know that you can dig deeper into all our episodes with the show notes at musictectonics.com? That's also where you'll find the latest about our annual conference and a sign-up for our newsletter. Everything we do explores the seismic shifts that shake up music and technology, the way the Earth's tectonic plates cause quakes and make mountains. Connect with Music Tectonics on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Bye.
You're listening to Music Tectonics.